So our next speaker is Mr. Ebrahim Ismail, the former principal of Muhammadeyah, but certainly still the trustee of Muhammadeyah. So Mr. Ismail has been busy with Muhammadeyah in one form or another, whether a learner, a teacher, or a member of the trust since 1959. And that has not stopped at all over all the years. So we welcome Mr. Ismail to come and share with us what he has prepared. And this certainly, Mr. Ismail, I know it will be dynamic, and I know it will serve generations to come when they do their research. Shukran for availing yourself. Over to Mr. Ebrahim Ismail.
Shukran, Mr. Ibrahim. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Your Honorable our Program Director, Mr. Abrams, also being the principal of the school, honored guests, former students, former teachers of our school, friends, children, and all those guests, honored guests who are here today, I greet you with a universal greeting of peace and love, and the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descend upon each and every one of us. Alhamdulillah. I greet you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thought coming to the wall, I tried to prepare this whole history about our beloved learning center, so aptly named after our beloved Nabi Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And whilst standing here now in front of you, I'm thinking, hier sit ons al 'n klomp mense wie van my Pieter die historiese gebeurtenis kan vertel van Muhammadeyah. Somewhere along the line, you either were at the school, or your children were at the school, or your parents' were at the school, or you are still involved with the school. Daarom sê ek, elkeen van julle soos julle hier sit, kan 'n historiese gebeurtenis vir ons vertel. En daarom het ek nou probeer om iets saam te stel sodat ons vir die hede of die toekoms, nie die hede nie, die toekoms vir ons nageslag kan sê van hierdie wonderlike skool wat gestig was in 1921. Inshallah. Now, before I can really talk about the history of the school, I've looked at the thesis of Professor Ajam, and he made quite a good observation in it. And I'm going to quote him what he wrote. And I think that's a good introduction for talking about this beautiful school of ours. Professor Ajam mentions in his doctoral thesis that in 1863, a political understanding between the governments of Britain and Turkey resulted in Abu Bakr Effendi being assigned by the Sultan to conduct a school in Cape Town to effect some uniformity of Islamic introduction. A latent consequence of this Turkish-funded school was the production of the first Afrikaans textbook on Islam. And after Effendi's demise, the school was discontinued. And state education policy ensured that non-white children generally were educated only at state-funded Christian mission schools, and most Muslim school children received only Islamic instruction at various madrasas as a result. Now that is where the Islamse school or Islamse school started. And just on that, if you listen to what Professor Ajam wrote, and that time in 1986 about the school, it shows you there was a need for Muslim schools in the Cape Town area. And I need to make mention, I don't think if I don't going to make mention of that, I'm going to fail in my duty here today. If I don't make mention of Dr. A. Abdurrahman. He was a foremost political figure of the first 40 years of this century. Took the first steps in establishing state-aided primary school for Muslim children. Whatever success he had in this regard was entirely due to his political acumen. Now that was that time, and that's why the small Muslim communities faced with a lack of schools in the town were inspired by the existence of Abdurrahman's Muslim primary school to establish their own, like Salt River, Simonstown, Paul, the Strand, and Worcester arose during the vital years of Abdurrahman's involvement in public education. Now, the Muhammadeyah Muslim School of Wynberg was the only school initially associated with the Cape Malay Association, and it actually excluded the philosophy that Mr. Abdurrahman had. Now, just to give you an idea, the schools which were established, and that is in those years from 1913. If you look at that, then you will see the Rahmania Institute in Kaapstad, that is Cape Town, 1913. Kafama Institute, Claremont, 1916. Salt River Muslim School, 1917. Simonstown Muslim School, 1923. The Paul Muslim School, 1923. Worcester Muslim School, 1928. Number 7, Muhammadeyah Muslim in Wynberg, 1929. So if you work it out, our school will be now 93 years old. And that means also in 7 years' time, that is 2029, this beautiful learning institution will be serving its centenary year, inshallah, Ameen. Now, if you look at that, I don't want to go through all the schools. If you look at it, how many schools survive? How many schools really survive? And the closure of so many schools, Muslim schools, and you can look at that slide and how many schools actually survive and how many schools actually closed since the year it started up till recent, inshallah. Now, just to tell you about the Muhammadeyah Muslim Primary School. Now, currently, our school is under the auspices of the Western Cape Education Department, and it's located here in Wynberg, where you're all sitting. Right? Now, the reasons for the establishment of this primary school are clearly outlined by the school's former principal, Mr. Rashad Jadar. And he said, Muhammadeyah, and I quote him, Muhammadeyah was born out of a need in a Muslim community at the Cape, and Wynberg in particular, for a school with an educational curriculum that would provide its children with the traditional religious education, in addition to the tools to participate actively and creatively in the socio-economic life of the country, and education that would inculcate the values of Islam. Now, that brings me down to, and I will come back to that. Haji Salih Berdin, and I know there's family members sitting here of Haji Salih Berdin. Now, let me just go back and talk a little bit about Haji Salih Berdin. Now, a few days ago, I was at International Garage and I had a night chat with Rhoda Muhammad. Now, Rhoda Muhammad is the granddaughter of Haji Salih Berdin, and she gave me this article that was written in the Simonstown, Our Heritage. And the first thing that she said to me, I need to read this to the people who are going to listen. And it's going to be here this afternoon. The first appointed principal was Mr. Salih Berdin, who was the son of Imam Abdul Rakib Berdin, the presiding Imam of the Yusufiyah Mosque in Wynberg. And before taking up his position as principal, Mr. Berdin was a teacher at the Rahmaniyah Institute, right, who performed his duty as the principal teacher to the greatest satisfaction of the parents and the Jama'ah. Now, if we look also at that time, Mr. Berdin, or we know, is so fondly known as Haji Salih Berdin, he was the one that was instrumental in seeing the establishment of this school, Muhammadeyah. And there was one person in the community that had a barbershop here, and this was also documented. And who had a barbershop in Wynberg Main Road in the 1920s. And most of the conversations in 1925 centered around the need to establish Muslim schools in Wynberg. It is therefore not surprising that the first meeting of the committee to establish Muhammadiyah was held in Mr. Akimdin's barbershop. Now I need to also tell you, certain meetings were also, took place at Kasari Dorji's. I think Haji Fatima is here, the daughter, at her place as well, at your place as well, in 1929. Other meetings also took place at other venues in 1933. And therefore, the need for Muhammadiyah was always there to establish a school for those learners needing the Islam education. Now, in 1929, a two-room house was purchased in where this is the number 103 Bachelor Wynberg. And the school opened its doors for the first time during the lunar month of Rabiul Awwal, the birth month of our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And hence the name of the school was chosen as Muhammadeyah Muslim Primary School. And according to the history and oral history and people talking about the school, they say the school started off with 11 learners ranging from sub-A or preschool to standard 3. Now, if I just go back, right. Now, Ridwan, play that. I like that. I had an interview and an ex-teacher during the time of Mr. Berdin, Haji Sulaila Samsudin, and her son Abu Bakr, that's Abu Bakr Solomon. And I just want to show you and listen to the clip that the interview that took place between him and myself.
And she went to school at the Rahmaniyah Primary, where she finished her schooling and became a teacher. Teaching at Muhammadiyah, I think in the late 30s. I was born in 1944.
Right. Okay.
And And I think my mother stopped. My mother got married to my father, who had a shop in Constantia, fruit and vegetable shop in Constantia, and
Now, who was your father?
Muhammad Talib.
Talib Solomon. Solomon. Right.
Haji Muhammad, Haji Ismail, son Solomon, was the principal, ex-principal of Muhammadeyah, was the cousin of my father.
Okay.
Talib Berdi, but my mother related me that he came to school on a white horse with a plate of Mariam Latu, was his friend at school, and there were other teachers, I think about two or three.
Okay. Right. Just to give you an idea of there are still people around us that can talk about the school. And even the mommy of this gentleman, Abu Bakr Solomon, Auntie Sulaila Samsuddin, was one of the teachers in the time of Haji Salih Berdin. Now, I'm just going to give you a clip on a student again that attended the school in 1939 in Sub A, and she left the school in Standard 4. And the student's name is Shamsun Nisa Kabir. She was a Take at that time, Auntie Nisa, who is also Mariam Rizaldin's mommy. And she turned 90 on the 31st of August. And whilst talking to her, I asked her, what can you still remember about the school? And I just want you to, the first one.
Salih Berdin.
Sorry for those who don't
En
understand.
de juffrouw, juffrouw was geweest, juffrouw Samsuddin. Juffrouw was juffrouw Samsuddin. Maar daar was daar een juffrouw Iso. Zij het voor ons geen naaldwerk. Dan heeft ons het geschreven op een slit. Daarna aan dat ons wordt geschreven in een boek, een exerciseboek. Dan heeft teacher Iso voor ons geleerd om vast aan elkaar te schrijven. Moet maar geprint aan het. Dus aan elkaar geschreven.
Okay, right. You heard it now. I don't know whether still people are sitting here and they talk about the slate. Yes. Yeah. No, wait, I'm still. Yeah. Just a minute. Yeah. That time, the slate, and there was a stylus type of thing that they used to write. I can still recall that, right? And then it, as Auntie Nisa said, I went over to writing cursive and writing in a book. But now you've got now your professional slate, which is your iPad nowadays. It shows you from that time, 1929, how it has improved to the current situation. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Right. Now, this is just to give you an idea of the time of a person can talk. I don't think time allows a person to speak too much because there are so many other things that is connected with our school. Okay? Right. Now we also come to another. Right. Let me just go back a little bit. That era of Haji Salih Berdin was from 1929 to 1943. And when he became ill at that time, he gave over the reins to a very young person. And I think people sitting here, those after the 1943 and so on year period, will say they know about Haji Ismail Solomon. And as a young person, he took over the reins from 1943 until 1979. And I think that was about a 37 year period. And I need to say this. He was the longest serving principal of our school, right? And Mr. Solomon was also a very dynamic person. He had a very dynamic personality, very enthusiastic, very, hands-on person. And I think Haji Salih Berdin made the right choice at that time to hand over the school to Haji Ismail Solomon and to take the school again further. Now, if you look at that, from Haji Salih Berdin, there were about 6 classrooms, 6 teachers. In the time of Haji Ismail Solomon, when he left in 1979, it was the 50th year of the school. When he retired, there were about 600 learners at that time. So, I just want to... Now, okay, the one. Just the one. This one.
We were taught at Muhammadeyah. What we know today is what we had learned at Muhammadeyah. The foundation that was laid at
Can you just pause it
Muhammadeyah.
quickly?
Wow, really.
I need to tell you, these are 2 learners who were at the school. At the moment, I'll divulge the age. I don't think Abida will, give me a hiding on it or whatever. And then they scowl me later on. No, I think they are about now 65. Am I correct in saying that? Right. If the 2 of them can just, I think they're sitting there, and I see they're sitting together already. It is Abida. If you can just stand quickly, Abida is here in the crowd, and Fauzia, right? Now, I just want to tell you, the 2 of them have been at the school since 1964. Even going to high school? No, not going to high school. But let me just hear, I just want you to hear what they've got to say as ex-students of our school.
Really, that is something else. At Muhammadeyah, we learned the basics. The reason why we love Maulud today so much is because of Muhammadeyah, what we were taught there, alhamdulillah. And the likes of Mrs. Iso, Mr. Kluti, Mr. Jada, Mrs. Kierman, Mrs. Isaacs. These were the people that
and
really...
she was Najjar
at the time, correct, yeah. Some people that really made a big impression on our lives, and Wood, of course, yes, no.
Mr. Kluti.
Mr. Kluti, yes, yeah. But as I say, the Maulud and also the celebration of the 10th of Muharram, that always stood out for me,
Yeah.
It was...
Alhamdulillah, when I started at Muhammadeyah, I still remember it so vividly. I walked into the classroom and there sits Abida. We don't know each other really. Our parents know each other. They were friends, and Abida sat there. And I was the second child, and I went to sit next to Abida. And alhamdulillah, we are
still sitting together.
We like hands.
Alhamdulillah. Right. Just to, yes, I see Mr. Solomon is showing me there's only 5 minutes left, but you see, a person needs more time. But Mrs. Isaac is also sitting here, so beautiful, she can just stand, right? I see an ex-teacher also, our ex-deputy principal is also sitting here, Mr. Dr. Umar Iso, all coming out of Muhammadeyah, so wonderful to see them here. Then, I can just move on quickly, because now we have, right. That was now the Berdin Solomon era. Now we come to a person. Right. Now this is Mr. Jadar again. Right, Rashad Jadar and Mr. Isaac is sitting here. Our current deputy principal of our school is sitting here. Mr. Jadar is also his uncle. Isn't it beautiful? Now it shows you that family connection. Now, before I talk about Mr. Jadar, I just need to tell you, you are all sitting here. I may miss out on names and why didn't I interview you and why only I interview those people. I ask pardon for that, right? I know your affiliation to this school is tremendous. You know, I can't just pick on names. Then people will say to me, Mr. Ismail, you didn't mention our family's name. There are so many families connected. And I got so the first admission register of 1929. The first admission register where a learner's names are entered. And just to give you an idea, a few names, I'll just quickly read it to you. I know I'm pressed for time. Fatima Bessadine, born in 1920. Came to the school opened its doors the 4th of the 11th, 1929. First student of the school. There's a Muhammad Mahmoud Kali, Muhammad Mukhlis Sali, Khadija Rijaldin, Khadija Barense, Muhammad Yusuf Muhammad, Ismail Musa, Ahmad Arifdin, Aisha Hoffman, Khadija Akimdin, Abu Bakr, Fatima Ismail, Sulaiman Sali, Ebrahim Ismail, you name it, Aisha Solomon. All these were learners who attended. And even Haji Salih's Birding's own daughter, Hai Asma, who was the mother of Roma Muhammad in Ottery Road. She attended the school. You know, when I looked at the date of birth, she would have turned now in this year 101. Now, it shows you this is the first register, admissions register of the first learners who attended the school. Now, people may ask me, and why is it the 4th? And I only came to one conclusion. Why the 4th of 11 is given the end of the year? And I say, anybody who can tell me maybe, why is it the 4th of November? Why did the school start in the 4th of November, which is nearly the end of the year? 1920. Yes, Mr. Mu'aqib, during a month, and it was Rabiul Awwal, and the name of, that's why the name came about Muhammadeyah Primary School. And as I said at the start, it is named after our beloved Nabi Muhammad, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next person from the 1980 to 1994, most of you will remember Mr. Jadal. Very upright, very strict, very firm, and that English command. Right? And I need to say this, in the 70s, our school was predominantly, or not predominantly, was an Afrikaans speaking school. Dan kan ek nog mooi Afrikaans praat. And Afrikaans was the medium of teaching. Right? That was Afrikaans. Mr. Jadar came to the school, and then, as he became the deputy principal, Mr. Solomons with the team, they thought no, because there was a need again. People are switching over. Although our parents at that time couldn't speak English, but hulle kinders gehad het om Engels te praat. They wanted their children to speak English. And therefore, we had, and the need was there to change to an English medium school. So we started off with, in the 1970s, started off with an English class, one class, and it grew that up to today, Muhammadeyah is an English medium school. And that was the Rashad Jadar era. Okay? Right? And then we had another great teacher at our school, who also took up the reins after Mr. Jadar left. And then in 1995, Mr. Hamid, Muhammad Sadiq Hamid took over the reins. Although he was only here for a short while, the 2 years. At that period, there was this incident of retrenchment, redeployment, and there was a shift. Yes, there was a big shift in the whole status quo of South Africa. Because you must remember 1994, the release of Nelson Mandela, South Africa becoming a republic, and what happened there afterwards? What happens afterwards? The education system changed. And then in 1997 or 1996, the New Schools Act came into being. And then Mr. Hamid was at the helm of affairs, and he was more than 30 years, 32 years, he was at our school, and he was one of our great teachers. And I mean, a lot of us, I was in his class, there are so many learners here, people here who are all in these teachers' class. I'm one of the ex-pupils of Muhammadeyah. My wife is an ex-pupil. The whole family of that Jaltan clan, they all attended the school. And so I can talk about all your family members who attended the school. Alhamdulillah. Right. Now, the next person after Mr. Hamid was another man, and he was Mr. Ismail. And he took over in 1997 to 2017. That man that is talking now a lot, and I need to curb myself here with the time. But if you need any information about him, you can come to me. You don't mind, not to talk. And then after 2017, Mr. Sani was acting principal for 2 years, and then Mr. Abrams from 2019 until now, he is now the new principal. To tell you the honest truth, I was now going here, there, just to get the idea to give over to you about, but I don't think I could do justice in the short period of time about this beautiful learning center, man. It is difficult to talk about this learning center, and especially, I went to the archives, looked up a few things. I had few interviews with people. I even had an interview with G. Solomon, to be honest, an ex-teacher of our school. So I hope that, inshallah, if you need more information, the school is open. And there are so many. I'm looking at Mr. Ahmad. Here is also in Wynberg. He is a walking historian. He can talk, about so many things. And about our school, about Wynberg in itself. So I hope that I've done justice to it. I just want to go quickly just to show you, it says here about the old, don't forget the ministers and so on. Look at the, right, it is Mr. Hamid there. And it's not like that picture or that photo was taken in 85. Right? I just quickly want to browse quickly. Okay, don't worry about me. Right, and then as you can see there, service day, teachers all dressed up in a school uniform. That was of yesteryear. Right, since I want to just this last, which I want to say shukran to each and everyone, those who assisted me. I want to thank, and especially Mr. Muhammadeyah, our computer man, who designed a few of the things for me on the computer. I want to thank him. I want to thank my son also, Abdul Malik, and last minute things to put in. I want to thank you for being here and listening to me, Abida and Fauzi, man. Yes, I must say, I really enjoyed it. Even to Rauda Muhammad, I see Zainab is sitting here, birding, 8 and 8 birding, and therefore, that is it. So, okay, right now.
Okay, ladies and gents, before you go, we would like to just say a huge shukran to Mr. Ismail. And before we do that, we're going to have a handing over of some documentation and a few words by Mr. Yunus Karim. Huge shukran, Sheikh, beautiful, always the teacher, always the IT specialist. Shukran jazilan for the beautiful presentation. We are going to do a bit of a handing over, but before we do that, can we have some words from Yunus Karim?
Assalamu alaikum. Shukran, everybody. If nobody knew, I was in Mr. Ismail's class in 1987 and 88. And by the way, Mr. Isa was also my class teacher of 1987. So Mr. Ismail taught me maths in Standard 4 and Standard 5. Wat was sy som nou weer? Omdraai Bombay. But anyway, we say shukran to Mr. Ismail in terms of the presentation he's delivered here today from the Wynberg East Civic Association. We'd like to present him with a small token of appreciation. It says Wynberg East Civic Association, Mr. Ismail, for your valuable contribution to Wynberg East Oral History Project. And then secondly, is the Auntie Fatima Doji available, or any of the Doji families? If they're available in the wall, if they can please come forward. Because I've got within my hand here, I've got documentation that was saved by the Ebrahim Doji, Mr. Ebrahim Doji of Sali Doji, but it was actually his father, Ebrahim Doji, who initiated the first public meeting of Muhammadeyah of 1929. So that public meeting document is in here. Of July, 28th of July 1929 was the first public meeting of Muhammadeyah. If I can kindly ask Mr. Ismail to maybe remove some of the documents. These other documents of 1933 related to Muhammadeyah, which Mr. Sali Doji had, but he saved it that on behalf of what his father saved during the course of his lifetime. So you can just in terms of the photography, we just want to show one or two of the items. Was the original public notice for Muhammadeyah on 28th of July 1929. There's a couple of other documentation as well, which I'm not going to go into detail. Okay, yeah, here's the right person to hand it over, Sali's brother, Uncle Haki. So, give you the honor to hand this over. Yeah. So this is the public meeting, original document of 28th of July 1929. That was for the Muhammadeyah meeting. And I think Mr. Ismail said the school opened in November. Okay. So we can ask Haki to hand this over to Mr. Ismail and take a few photographs as well.